The role of punishment, I mean, it just still comes out to the concept of punishment. What is the purpose? What's the value of punishment? I mean, from what I understand, it is supposed to be some measure of control, societal control, where someone who is perhaps accused or guilty of a particular law or set of rules is, as it were, punished, or some sort of, how will I say?
Sanction.
Yeah, sanction is put upon the person. So, well, how it plays a role in society and schools, I think it's necessary. Punishment is necessary. But I think it's just the gravity of it and how it is administered that is often the complaints amongst people. So,
yeah. I mean, basically, that's it. I think that punishment is very necessary in our society and in schools because, okay, let me start from schools. Schools are where children, I wouldn't say they are raised in schools, but then they learn a lot from school. And when a child goes wrong, the teacher or the school structure should be able to punish the child or correct the child. Okay, and punishment is a fine way of correcting people, not only children. So, yes, I think punishment plays a huge role in child raising or child nurturing. And like you said, it's the gravity of the punishment that matters, or that raises eyebrows sometimes. There have been several instances where teachers have reportedly caned students till they are unconscious, till they have marks on their bodies. Some even die and stuff like that. I mean, that's extreme.
Yeah.
But then punishment generally it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing with as you said, the corporal punishment in schools. Some people would say that it amounts to abuse, where you more or less beat a child or you inflict violence using a tool. Some people use canes, some people use belts, wires, and even comes down to the domestic setting, where in certain homes also you have fathers who beat with canes and belts and sticks, even, so it's just a measure of it. But as it is, as a role in society, what punishment plays that role in society, it's quite necessary. They say, like the proponents of such say that it helps in deterring others from similar crimes, and it helps in rehabilitation also, because when perhaps you are incarcerated or put to jail, some jail facilities help you reform to see some. Not in Ghana, So that's even a peculiar situation with us, how punishment then is implemented in our parts. Also, that the reformative bit doesn't work. Even with the Bostal Institute for the younger people, it doesn't work how it should.
Some even come out worse than they went in.
But I mean, on a whole, yes, in the role, punishment's role in society is quite significant. It's as a deterrent that if you do X, Y, and Z, you get perhaps a fine, you get a public flogging, like the incident in the north recently, And I feel sometimes too, it's how religion places punishment upon us. Even in the Garden of Eden, it was administered there instantly. Yeah. So even in societies, you realize that there are options. You have fines, you pay, you have deferred sentences, you have incarceration, and in some other places too, people are restrained, tied up, and beaten up. So the huge thing for us is how do we manage this role that punishment plays in society, and I think religion also has led us to this for us, I think it's more of this corporal punishment thing that we lead with, that you have to beat the person, you have to stone the person into tie him up or pull an ear or something, you know. I remember when we were, I'm not so old, but when we were younger, parents will either use a broom or just give you a knock on your head, you know, they call it the brain reset, that resets your brain, you know, instantly. So over time, we should now look at how we can make it easier for us to accept certain types of punishments, because I think now the advocacy is the abuse bit that comes into the schools, and they also say that there's a prejudice of a sort where boys are beating more than girls, and you know, certain yeah, boys are beating more than girls in schools. It is. Sometimes the girls will say, I can't take it on my backside, so they'll give the palm and then they'll tap. But with the boys, once you do, they lash you all over. I know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just how we take it and how we can move it forward with this new age of advocacy and for abuse and violence, you know, for us to stop that. So,
sure.
Where?
Yeah, like I say, basically, punishment is meant to reform the person, to correct the person. But some of the punishments meted out, it's like they're just trying to kill you, end your life, you know. And I think we really need to take a look at that, a second look at that, and also to ensure that the punishment being meted out to the person is first of all correcting the person and deterring other people. Our punishments are quite deterrent. They I mean, if you see someone being stoned for thievery, I mean, or being killed, people are mobbed all the time for stealing, right? And it's quite deterrent. I mean, if you see someone lying dead in a gutter for stealing maize, you wouldn't dare do it, right? But that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it right.
Mob justice, they call
it. Know? And with reforming the person himself or herself, I think with children, okay, some parents tend to, or teachers tend to beat children to the extent that they become rebellious.
Right.
It's like, no matter the magnitude of my offense, I'll be beaten to this extent. So why don't I just do it and then be beaten? Skin, you know, exactly. So that doesn't exactly reform the child.
Sure.
Even though if you suggest another form of punishment, they'll say you're either being too soft on the child, or you're condoning what the child is doing, or you're being too Western, and you're not being Ghanaian and
African,
you know. So, and I think that sometimes with certain offenses or certain wrongdoings, the child can just be spoken to. Oh, you do the children are children. I mean,
they have their moments.
There are various ways of correcting a person, right? So, don't do this. This is how we do it. When in public, you don't give things to people with your left hand. You use your right hand. You know, stuff like that. You just talk to the person. Maybe with if the person keeps doing it, then you can mete out a different form of punishment, which you see to be deterrent enough. But it's not about just slapping and beating a child every time they do something wrong. They will just develop a thick skin, and then you've lost your child. Or I mean, the person, the aim of the punishment is not met.
It's lost.
Yes, exactly. Sure. Basically.
I mean, on that point also, they say that it's short term, because the person, you administer it, the person just takes it in and walks away. There's no proof of reform or change, you know, based on that kind of action. But I see this advocacy for this more of a non-forceful, more coercive way of punishment is being championed by the, how should I say, as you mentioned, westernization and also urbanization. Because now they say, instead of even scolding your child, they say it's emotional abuse. So you deprive the child of privileges, they call it. So take away the phone, take away the Wi-Fi.
Who gave you the phone in the first place? Am I going to give you a phone to take away?
You see, so it comes with the modern day of parenting also.
Yeah.
Because now we find a lot of parents in the urban classification who have kids with phones, like basic Android phones or phones that can get them online. So you take away the phone, take away internet access, take away shopping sprees, take away toys. And for them, they think that works because it's more of, nothing, it's less inflictive of injury or battery, on the child. So for me, it's just modern day parenting also contributes to this need for less violence for kids. But we just need to find a fine balance.
Yeah.
Where, as you mentioned, sometimes you speak to the person, you counsel more or less the child into behaving properly. But then when there are excesses, you also deliver the old school. Yeah, we mustn't lose who we are as a people.
Yeah.
Because the old school corrected a lot of things.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we need to maintain the old school ways. Sometimes you go and stay with your grandmother for a while, and that's for that corrective purpose where you can't go spilling beans or eating plantain and leaving it about. No, you have that old school. So it sort of shaped and morphed lives, and let's just hope this new trend of take away privileges and speak nicely to the child would work. Otherwise, yeah.
we are hanging on hope now. I think that in light of preserving our culture, this whole taking privileges away from children, am I even going to give you that to take away?
Yes.
Because it sounds like something, punishments for privileged children.
Yes.
Children from well-to-do homes who have been taking trips to Abuja and back. They are accustomed to that lifestyle.
Yeah.
But for instance, what's not from there, bro? Then I come to say, why are there? Then you say, okay, I'm taking away your toy. He or she will play
We'll go ahead
and pay bottle core,
yeah.
rubber band.
Find options.
So that doesn't really, in Africa, Ghana, even today, if you tell me I'm grounded, I'll eat, I'll sleep. You can't ground me in Ghana. You will send me to go and buy food. You will send me to go matches bra. Do you understand?
Run the errands.
So in Ghana, yes, it's Ghana we are in. So in Ghana, except in very few homes, I don't think that taking out of privileges really works. However, as for the abuse, the caning and the beating with belts and stuff, I mean, I agree that it needs to be looked at again. But then there are other forms of punishment like doing chores.
Right.
Okay. Nobody likes work. Human beings, we don't like working. So, for doing this, you have to do all these dishes, or you have to sweep this compound, or I think we have to look at it in that light, or polish these shoes, stuff like that, instead of beating the child. There are instances when yes, the child has to be beaten, but they're not for every single wrongdoing, no matter the magnitude. Otherwise, the child, like I was saying, the child will grow up thinking, yeah, maybe so I'll do what I have to do or what I want to do, and I'm going to be meted out with the same punishment, which now I've developed a tough skin for.
Very true. So well, for me to wrap up, I'll come back to where you started from, which was in the schools. How do you then punish a child in the school in this modern setting? Like, you were talking about doing chores within the school setup. How do we deal with that? Because if you're taking away the corporal punishment,
you're going to make me give myself away.
Yeah, please do. Tell us what you have experienced.
Yes, so we were not caned. We were not allowed to be caned. Most Montessori schools, or basically Montessori schools, you're not caned.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed to be caned. Punishments such as isolation,
How about kneeling
even
down?
Kneeling down, it's
Low down.
by now, I mean, a few years ago, kneeling down was fine. But now, a parent will tell you are destroying my child's knees. You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, so they have stuff like isolation, taking away of toys, because except maybe in with older pupils.
Very cool.
Okay, but with very little children or toddlers, taking away of toys. In extreme cases, in the experience I have with Montessori schools, in extreme cases, the child is taken to the headmistress or headmaster for caning.
Okay.
So the teacher is not allowed to cane because it is assumed that they might use too much emotion.
Emotions. Okay.
Yes, and then end up hurting the child. In the headmistress's office, even in the headmistress's office, you're not caned haphazardly.
Yes.
It's only in your palm. You take a few strokes in your palm and that's it. Okay, so and then you are given lines to write. I will not blah 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 again.
I have a book of it.
Yes.
I will not do this again.
I will not do this again. And once you take the lines home, your parents will see that this is what you did.
Yeah, you misbehaved.
And if they will cane you, they will cane you.
That's okay.
Right? But the school is trying to avoid issues with parents where parents will accuse teachers or the school of abusing their child or stuff like that. Yes. So kneeling down, going to the corner, isolation, things like that. Writing lines.
Yeah,
in schools.
Standing in front of a blackboard.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, punishment indeed for me is necessary. It's just how we measure it. You know, we shouldn't see it as something which is bad or goes against the norms of society. It's a means of control for us, but it's just how we measure it. It can't always be fair, but then as much as possible, we must try and make it fair. Yeah. So that's my take on it.
And I just think that punishment should be reformative.
Right.
We should make sure that whatever punishment you're meting out is not just out of frustration or excessive expression of emotion, but is meant to do the person good.
Oh.
That's my take.
And that's our take on the role of punishment in
schools
society.
and society.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Schools and society. All right. Thank you.